Hey everyone, so in this video I'll be showing you how to make this bubble chart. Now this is not your standard bubble chart. This is a customized version of bubble chart. So I'll be showing you how you can create this. And this is another version of the same chart with different colors. So let's see how we can create this. So first, let's create a bubble chart. So go to Insert. Under the chart menu, go to XY scatter. Right here you will find a bubble chart, so click on it, say OK. Now let's make a few edits to the data sheet. Now what we are looking for is basically 3 bubbles, and they all should be lining up on the same line. So we need the Y value or the Y intercept to be exactly same, and the X needs to increment by the same value. So let's make all of the X values increment by 1. So we start with 1, which is our first bubble, then second, which is the second one, and the third one. Okay, and then let's make all the Y values exactly same. So in our case, we can make them 1 each. All right, for the next step, we will tweak the vertical axis values. We want these 3 bubbles to come down a bit. So double click on this Y axis. Let's increase the maximum to 2. And we can just have major and minor units as 1. They don't really matter, but let's just simplify that. Okay, once we have done that, let's delete both axes. We also don't need the chart title. Let's keep the trend lines for now because we will be adding text boxes underneath these, so it just helps to align them. Okay, let's bring this chart down a bit. We will be adding the percentages here, and under that we will be adding years. So let's just look at this chart. So this is what we are trying to achieve. Okay, for the next step, we will be creating these tiny bubbles. So let's go to next chart. Let's add a circle. Let's remove the border. Actually, let's do one thing. Let's make this circle as big as we can so that we can see nicely. It doesn't need to be this big, but I'm just making it big so that you can see it clearly. Now, this circle is just to create a bounding box for these tiny circles that we have. And once we have these tiny circles within this circle, we can just delete this circle. Okay, so let's start adding these small circles or bubbles. Let's color these orange so you can see them nicely. Now let's create different sizes of these circles and sprinkle them throughout here. We just need them to be random sizes so it looks like a good mix of data points. I'm just going to speed through this so you don't need to watch me make these minor adjustments. Alright, so we have this done. Now you don't need to worry about having to create this yourself. I'll be providing this file in the description, so you can just take this and change this how you see fit. Let's just group this whole thing so we can resize it for the next step. So I'm just going to scale this down a bit because for the next step, we are just going to randomize the positions of these. So what we're trying to do is create 3 versions of this exact same thing, but they will look like they are random. So let me show you what I mean. So let's just duplicate this. Let me ungroup this and just group the tiny shapes themselves and not the background circle. Let me do the same thing for here. I'm just pressing Control Shift G. And then to group this again, I'm pressing Control G. Let's duplicate this one more time. Okay. Now what we can do is just randomize the position of this. So one way we can do this is, let's go to rotate and flip horizontally, and we can also flip this vertically. So if you compare this with this, it looks like 2 different versions of this, but it's essentially the same version. Now for this, we can maybe rotate this at some random angle. I think that looks fine. Now let's copy and paste each one of these onto each, each one of these circles. So we just need the tiny circles. We don't need the background circles anymore. So let me just copy 3 of these, paste these here. Now one by one, let's paste this one onto the first bubble. Then the second one onto this one, and finally third one onto this third chart. Okay, let's get rid of these 3. So there are final few steps left. The most important is the percentages. So I didn't show this to you earlier, but if you notice, there is a third column here, which is for the size of these bubbles. So here is where we will be putting in the percentages. So let's say the trend was that for year 1, you had this as 10%, then year 2, it increased to 15%, and in year 3, it went up to 30%. So you just need to add these numbers here. Now these can be either numbers or percentages. We are just going to stick with numbers here. So let the first be 10, then we can make the second one 15, and the last one, let's say 25. As you can see, the sizes are adjusted automatically for us. Let's close this down, and the final step would be to add all these formatting touches. So we will be adding these percentages, then the years and titles, and some space for the headline. I'm going to speed this up so you don't need to watch me make these adjustments in slow motion. All right, so this is looking good. Let's just create another variation with a darker background. So let's duplicate the slide, right click, and let's pick this. Now let's pick another one. Let's pick this background. Let's change the text color to white. And you can change the colors of these circles to any other color you want. So they don't have to be orange. They can be any other color. But to change the color, you will have to go here, change the color for this. So let's just copy these again. Paste them here, and let's just say we want these to be, let's just say the first 2 we want them to be gray, and the last one to be blue. So I think this looks good, and the last one can be this blue or this blue. I think this looks better. So let's paste each one of them like so. I think this is looking good. So let's delete these shapes and we are there. So one final thing to note is when you make these charts, make sure you always store these original circles here. So in case later on, if you need to change the colors or change these circles for some reason, you always have the original. If you throw these out, if you delete these, and then you find out that you need to change something here, you will have to redo everything again. So make sure you save this, maybe even save 2 copies of this if this is something you expect to be using frequently in the future. So if you found this useful, please leave a like and subscribe for future videos. See you next time.